You're sitting at your desk, staring at a screen that's been open for hours, the cursor blinking like a silent accusation. The to-do list beside you is untouched, and the weight of it feels like a stone in your chest. You used to tackle tasks with energy, maybe even excitement, but now, even the smallest effort feels like climbing a mountain. You tell yourself you're just lazy, that you should snap out of it, but deep down, you know it's more than that. There's a fog around you, a disconnection that makes the world feel distant, like you're watching it through a window. If this sounds like you, stay with me. This isn't just about being tired or unmotivated. By the end, you'll see that what you're feeling isn't laziness, it's burnout, and it's trying to tell you something profound about who you are and what you need. Let's start with the truth. You're not alone in this. I've been there too, dragging myself through days that felt like they belonged to someone else. I've sat in meetings, nodding along while my mind was 1,000 miles away, wondering why I couldn't care anymore. I've snapped at someone I love over something small, then hated myself for it. I've looked at my life, my job, my routines, my goals, and felt nothing but emptiness. And I know you have too. Maybe it's the way you can't get out of bed on weekends, not because you're resting, but because you're exhausted in a way sleep can't fix. Maybe it's the hobbies you used to love, now abandoned because they feel like another chore. This isn't laziness. It's a signal from your soul, and it's time we listen. What's happening to you? Why does everything feel so heavy? Carl Jung would say you're caught in a crisis of the psyche, a collision between who you are and the world's demands. Jung believed that our unconscious holds the truth of our being, but modern life, especially in a society obsessed with productivity, cuts us off from it. Burnout isn't just exhaustion, it's a disconnection from your soul. It's what happens when you give too much for too long to a world that doesn't give back. A 2010 survey found that 75% of adults in the US alone have experienced burnout, with over 40% facing severe symptoms. That's not a coincidence. It's a symptom of a society that measures your worth by your output, not your humanity. You're not lazy, you're burning out because you're human in a world that forgets what that means. Let's go deeper. This disconnection didn't start yesterday. It's rooted in a culture that glorifies hustle and punishes rest. Soren Kierkegaard would call this despair, the quiet agony of living out of alignment with your true self. Kierkegaard believed despair comes when you betray your soul to meet external expectations. You've done this, haven't you? You've pushed through exhaustion to meet a deadline. You've smiled when you wanted to scream. You've said, "I'm fine," when you were falling apart. Every time you did, you drifted further from yourself. That's why burnout feels like losing yourself. It's not just physical tiredness, it's spiritual depletion, a cry from the part of you that's begging to be seen. Now, let's look at the signs, because burnout isn't one thing. It's a constellation of shifts in how you feel, think, and live. First, there's the disconnection. You're going through the motions, but it's like you're on autopilot. Jung would call this depersonalization, a state where you feel detached from your own life, like you're watching it from the outside. You don't feel like you anymore. Nothing excites you, not even the things that used to light you up. It's not that you don't care, it's that you can't. This isn't laziness. Lazy people don't feel this emptiness, they just avoid effort. But you're carrying a helplessness that makes even simple tasks feel impossible. Then there's the loss of motivation. You used to be driven, maybe even a high achiever. You set goals, crushed them, felt alive in the pursuit. But now, apathy has crept in. You miss deadlines, skip workouts, let emails pile up. People might call you lazy, but they don't see the truth. You're not unmotivated by choice. Burnout has drained the spark that once fueled you. Jung would say this is your psyche pulling back, refusing to play a game that's killing you. It's not a flaw, it's a survival mechanism. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from giving too much to a world that demands everything. Another sign? You've lost your passion. Remember the things you used to love? Maybe it was painting, running, or even your job when it felt meaningful. Now, those things feel like burdens. You might even resent them because they remind you of how hard you pushed yourself, too hard for too long. Nietzsche would see this as a loss of vitality, a sign that you've been drained by a society that worships productivity over purpose. He warned that when we chase external rewards at the cost of our inner fire, we risk becoming hollow. That's what burnout does. It steals the joy from what once made you feel alive. But this isn't permanent. It's a signal to pause, not to give up. Let's talk about your mood. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way you snap at small things. A spilled coffee, a slow driver, a harmless comment. You feel out of control, like your emotions are running the show. This isn't you. Or at least, it's not the you used to be. Burnout makes you moody, irritable, raw. Lazy people don't feel this way. They're relaxed, unbothered. But you're carrying a tension that spills over because you've been stretched too thin. Jung would say this is your shadow breaking through, the anger, frustration, and pain you've suppressed to keep going. It's not a sign you're broken, it's a sign you're human. You've also stopped taking care of yourself. You skip meals or binge on junk food. You stay up too late or sleep too much. You don't bother getting dressed up or even brushing your hair some days. You pull away from friends, not because you don't care, but because even texting feels like too much. This isn't laziness. It's burnout eroding your ability to show up for yourself. The difference is stark. Lazy people don't change like this. You weren't always this way. You used to care, to try, to show up. Now, the weight of the world has made even the simplest acts feel impossible. Finally, here's the key. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in slowly, stage by stage, like a shadow growing longer. Psychologists identify 5 stages. The honeymoon phase, where everything feels exciting. The onset of stress, where cracks start to show. Chronic stress, where exhaustion deepens. Burnout, where you hit the wall. And habitual burnout, where fatigue becomes your normal. By the time you're in the later stages, you're not just tired. You're at risk for anxiety, depression, and a life that feels like it's no longer yours. This gradual onset is why it's so hard to spot. You don't wake up one day burnt out. You become it, one unacknowledged sacrifice at a time. Let's pause here. These signs, disconnection, lost motivation, lost passion, moodiness, neglecting self-care, and the slow creep of exhaustion, they're not just symptoms. They're messages from your soul telling you it's time to stop, to listen, to change. Jung would say you're being called to face your shadow, to integrate the parts of yourself you've ignored. Kierkegaard would call it a leap of faith, to choose yourself over the world's demands. But to do that, you have to go deeper. You have to face the truth about why burnout has taken hold and what it's trying to teach you. Let's dive back in, because burnout isn't just a list of symptoms. It's a story about you, your soul, and a world that's forgotten how to let you breathe. Why does burnout hit so hard? Because it's not just about being tired. It's about losing yourself in a society that demands you give everything, your time, your energy, your heart, while offering little in return. Jung would say this is a collective wound, a sickness in the modern psyche. Our world is built on the myth of endless productivity, where rest is weakness and value is measured by what you produce. But you're not a machine. You're a human, wired for meaning, connection, and purpose. Burnout is what happens when those needs are starved. Let's peel back another layer. Where did this start? Burnout doesn't come from nowhere. It's rooted in the moments when you learned that your worth depends on what you do, not who you are. Maybe it was a childhood where you were praised for grades but ignored for your feelings. Maybe it was a job that rewarded overwork but punished boundaries. Maybe it was a culture that told you to keep up, keep smiling, keep going, no matter the cost. Kierkegaard would say this is the despair of the inauthentic self, living for others' expectations instead of your own truth. Every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you pushed past your limits, you fed this despair. That's why burnout feels like losing yourself. It's not just exhaustion, it's exile from your soul. But here's the deeper truth. Burnout is also a wake-up call. Jung believed that crises like this are the psyche's way of demanding change. Your disconnection, your apathy, your irritability, they're not signs you're broken. They're signs you're alive, fighting to reclaim what's been taken. Nietzsche would call this the will to power, not domination, but the drive to create meaning from suffering. You're not lazy. You're in a battle with a world that wants to reduce you to a cog in its machine. And every time you feel that emptiness, that exhaustion, it's your soul pushing back, refusing to let you disappear. So why does this matter? Because burnout isn't just personal, it's universal. We all feel the weight of a society that demands more than we can give. We all know the ache of chasing goals that don't fill us, of performing for a world that doesn't see us. Jung called this the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience. Your burnout is part of a larger story, one where millions are waking up to the same truth. We weren't meant to live like this. We were meant for connection, for meaning, for lives that feel like ours. Kierkegaard would say this is the human condition, to struggle, to lose ourselves, and to fight our way back to who we are. So how do you heal? How do you move from burnout to wholeness in a world that keeps pushing you to the edge? It starts with small, intentional steps. Step 1, name it. Say out loud, I'm burnt out. Write it down. Tell a friend. Naming it takes away its power to hide in your shadow. Step 2, pause. Take one day or even 1 hour where you do nothing for anyone else. No emails, no errands, no pretending. Just be. Jung would say this is how you reconnect with your unconscious, where your truth lives. Step 3, rebuild self-care. Start small. A shower, a healthy meal, a 5-minute walk. These aren't luxuries. They're acts of rebellion against a world that wants you depleted. Step 4, set boundaries. Say no to one thing that drains you, even if it's small. It might feel selfish, but it's not. It's survival. Step 5, seek meaning. Find one thing that makes you feel alive, even if it's just listening to a song or sitting in silence. Nietzsche would call this creating your own values, choosing what matters to you, not the world. And step 6, get help. Talk to a therapist, a friend, or even a journal. Burnout thrives in isolation, but healing happens in connection. You don't have to do this alone. These steps aren't a cure, but they're a start. a way to reclaim your energy, your passion, yourself. But healing isn't just personal, it's collective. Our society breeds burnout by design, rewarding overwork and punishing rest. So fight back. Have one real conversation. Ask someone how they're truly doing and listen. Share your own truth, even if your voice shakes. Build rituals, a morning stretch, a nightly gratitude list, a weekly moment of stillness. These acts reclaim your humanity in a world that wants to make you a machine. And don't underestimate their power. Jung believed that one person's healing ripples into the collective unconscious. Your courage to rest, to say no, to choose yourself could be the spark someone else needs to break free.
Now, let's talk about the cost. Healing from burnout isn't easy. You'll lose people who liked the old you, the one who never stopped, who always said yes. You'll feel guilty for slowing down in a world that glorifies hustle. You'll face moments of doubt so raw they scare you. But Kierkegaard would remind you, despair is worse. Staying depleted is worse. Betraying yourself is worse. Every time you choose healing, you chip away at the sickness, not just in you, but in the world. You become a living rebellion against a system that thrives on your exhaustion. Here's the hardest part. Healing doesn't feel good right away. You'll doubt yourself. You'll miss the chaos, the productivity, the feeling of being useful. You'll wonder if you're doing it wrong, because rest feels like failing. But that's the point. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. You're not here to be a machine, a performer, or a martyr. You're here to be you. And that starts with one choice: to listen to the voice inside you, the one that knows you're more than your to-do list, the one that knows you're enough. So here's your challenge. Can you choose yourself? Can you sit with your exhaustion long enough to hear what it's saying? Can you let go of the world's demands and claim your soul instead? Because beyond this burnout is something real. Beyond this disconnection is your truth. Beyond this weight is a version of you that's been waiting all along, stronger, freer, alive. You're not lazy, you're waking up. And that waking is painful, but it's also your power. Nietzsche called it becoming who you are. Jung called it individuation. I call it coming home. If this broke something open inside you, you're not alone. This is your moment. You felt the haze of burnout, but you've also felt the spark of your strength. Don't let it fade. Choose yourself today. Say no to one thing that drains you. Say yes to one thing that makes you feel alive. And keep going. You're not just healing, you're rewriting the story of what it means to be human. So like this video if you've ever felt the world move on while your heart stayed heavy. Subscribe if you're ready to transform pain into power. And comment below, I'm choosing me. Let the world hear it. Let your soul hear it. This is your journey now, and it's just beginning.